Probably the reauthorization, but yeah, we can go live anytime.
There's going to be a little bit of straightening out we're going to have to do after the show this evening or over the weekend, one way or another.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Liberty First Foundation Roundtable. As usual, it's been quite a week. Trump. Might as well lead off with the big story.
Well,
Trump was found guilty of
first.
all 34 charges or counts of falsifying business records in the first degree.
Mike, slow down for a second, because I know you're very excited, and you should be. But introduce. I mean, you got the wonderfully handsome and rugged Frank. We have the beautiful Jan Rains. I mean,
that's why I normally don't do the introduction. Why I don't normally start the show.
Yes, and we now have been reminded. We've been reminded. Go ahead.
So with me tonight, I got Frank, the other co-founder of the Liberty First Foundation. Joining us tonight also is Michael Vasquez of No Sound Bites Allowed. He is a political commentator of well over 20 years and is very knowledgeable about politics, not just locally, but globally. And we have Jan Rains, our local
alternative lifestyle expert.
There we go.
I like that. That's nice. I like that. That rolls.
There we go. So, hello, everybody.
Good evening, Michael, Jan, and Frank, and everybody in the audience. Oh, so, all right, Marshall, you wanted to jump in with both feet a little early and get into this whole Trump thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
let's take a minute first. Let's take a minute. I don't want to jump into the conviction. I don't want to jump into the trial. I don't want to jump into any of that. What I want to do right now is bask in the glory that is the stupidity of the corrupt left.
Oh, we're going to get that.
I have never seen a scenario outside of a Looney Tunes cartoon where somebody would set up an enormous bear trap, get the environment completely and totally set up for the perfect catch, and then go stick their face in it.
Yeah.
The left, this is beyond what the travesty of justice that this is, beyond the fact that it now shows every single American that if they can do this to a president, then we, the people, are no longer in charge of our own government because they can do any of this to any of us. But what this is the absolute biggest political mistake in history.
No. That's not no. This is like Hollywood. This is not, there are no mistakes. They want to shove this down people's throats because they're not talking to the 45% of America that's in the center. They don't care about them. They absolutely don't care about the right. In fact, they don't even care about rank and file Democrats, 58% of which are opposed to most of the things they're putting out there. No. They are going after the progressive activist left. And those guys, that's the Robert De Niro's. That's who they're after because they think that's what's going to win them an election.
All right, but this is where the mistake lies. They don't have to pander to those votes. They already have them because the candidate is already Donald Trump.
No.
There's no other thing that's going to energize the far left more than Donald Trump. And to say that we're going to punish Donald Trump, but he's still on the ballot, is not going to energize them anymore. They are that vote is in their pocket. That vote is already in their pocket.
That's not what they think. I'm telling you, Frank.
you say it's not what they think, but this is why I'm telling you this is a mistake. And you know how you know this is a mistake? The biggest, huge, bigly mistake that it is. In 24 hours, Donald Trump has raised $54 million.
I saw 53. Okay.
Now,
So
I'm just looking
54 now?
right now, it's up to 54.
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's going up real time.
The guy's averaging $2.1 million an hour since the verdict came. You don't calculate. If that didn't fit into the left's calculus, then all right. James Carville will probably be out. Carville's already out there last week saying, guys, remember that whole "it's the economy stupid" thing? Yeah, you got to focus on that because Biden don't have any other accomplishments. They already realized they're at a disadvantage, and what they did this week, and the judge, oh my God. I digress. Listen, I'm gonna step back. That's my piece. Before I get railing on this, Marshall. Please start up the way you intended to, and we'll circle. We'll do a Jan what's a face and circle back. We'll circle back to this.
Yes, we will.
Oh, the redhead. Yes.
Yeah. Peppermint Patty.
Psaki. Jen Psaki.
So anyway, if you haven't had your head in the sand, you probably all know that Trump was found guilty of all 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree under New York state law. Now, in order to be found guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree, these false business records must be with the intent to conceal another crime. Let me get this up here real quick.
Well, let me throw in something there because the media has tried to make this seem like, well, this is because Donald Trump was trying to hush the porn star, Stormy Daniels, who, by the way, perjured herself, which is a crime, and that's okay for the left, it seems. But no, that's not a crime. Bill Clinton did the same thing. He paid out about the same amount to hush up people. It's not a crime. There's about
Clinton paid more.
Okay, but there's about $17 million a year that is spent by Congress to hush up various sexual abuse and other tricky cases every year to hush people. But
here's the difference, Michael.
Yeah.
Here's the difference. That's taxpayer money.
Yeah.
That wasn't their own money.
Yeah. Everyone else except Trump uses taxpayer money. Trump uses his own. But it's not a crime. They try to make it seem like that was the crime that he committed. No, he didn't do it.
Okay. So, under New York law, and the website that I've shared here is newyorksenate.gov, legislation, laws, penal 175.10. Okay. So, section 175.10 is falsifying business records in the first degree. And what it says here is a person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he commits the crime of falsifying business records in the second degree and when his intent is to defraud. His intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime or aid or conceal in the commission thereof. Falsifying business records in the first degree is a Class E felony. Now, mind you, everybody keeps touting Trump's a convicted felon. Trump's a convicted felon. Class E felon is the least serious of felony charges. Well, it barely goes above a Class A misdemeanor.
But we got to admit, the charges, which were all 100%, he got convicted on every charge. Every charge was a Class E felony, and he's facing about 134 years in jail. And we'll talk about the predictions about whether it's jail, fine, whatever. I have a prediction about that. But the thing that I find that's very interesting about these Class E, they don't care. The fact that it's a Class E, that it's the least, they just wanted the headline: Trump is guilty, Trump is a felon. That's
They
it.
want the headline: Trump is a convicted felon.
That's all they cared about, because they think that that was actually going to give them a boost, which amongst progressive Democrats, yes, and everyone else, no. But that's what they were after. They don't care about the charges. They don't care that it's a Class E felony. Look at what is being said in the mainstream media. They're not talking about the charges. They're not talking about the level of crime. They're not talking about the fact that this case is going to lose on appeal because of all the irregularities and problems with it, the unreliable witnesses that were the core of this. None of that is being spoken about. All they say is Trump is guilty. The left has always said he's guilty for 8 years. Now they can bask in he's guilty. And if he's guilty of one thing, he's guilty of everything in their minds. And the rest of the world is looking at it going, you just perverted the American justice system. We're well on the way to an autocratic government. You're destroying the Constitution.
Okay. Now, I'm going to put this up here now. This is section 175.05, falsifying business records in the second degree. Okay. And what falsifying business records in the second degree it consists of is a person is guilty of falsifying business records in the second degree when, with the intent to defraud, he makes or causes a false entry in the business records of an enterprise, or alters, erases, obliterates, deletes, removes, or destroys a true entry in the business records of an enterprise, or omits to make a true entry in business records of an enterprise in violation of a duty to do so, which he knows to be imposed upon him by law or by the nature of his position, or prevents the making of a true entry or causes the omission thereof in business records of an enterprise. Falsifying business records in the second degree is a Class A misdemeanor. Now, on this, okay, here is a list of the actual records that he supposedly falsified. Okay. So, invoices. There are 11 different invoices. Okay, and that's counts 1, 5, 8, 11, 14, 17, 20, 23, 26, 29, and 32. There were 12 different vouchers. And then there were 11 checks. Okay, and that's how they came up with the amount of 34 counts.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, now, along this, they are claiming that the intent was to defraud. Okay, when he made these entries.
He didn't make the entries. His lawyer and his accountant made the entries. He paid the bills.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do it. He's not the one who was in charge of that. He just one who didn't question it. And two, he paid
any of these entries.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two, were these entries made with the intent to defraud from his business?
No, they were legally listed and notated, which has been done by many businesses and many politicians and candidates for decades upon decades. There are examples of this. It's nothing that was unusual or different. The difference here is they don't like Trump, not that he did something that isn't commonplace in politics today.
Now, I've got several other things I'm going to be bringing up here on this. Okay. Number one, if these payments were made by his lawyer to Stormy Daniels in order to keep her quiet about an affair that they had, wouldn't that be classified as legal payments?
Well, from Trump to his lawyer, that is a legal payment. My lawyer tells me I need a check because I have to handle your legal business. Okay, here's the check. That's why you have retainers. You pay him because he's on retainer and he's constantly doing stuff for you. Now, if he takes that money and then pays off Stormy Daniels to shut her up, one, that doesn't require the notification beforehand of President Trump, which they have not established. And even if it did, Trump hasn't made that payment. The lawyer did, which is entire. So there's a separation there, which is
But
also important in that.
even so, okay. Stormy Daniels was threatened to go public and other legal avenues.
Which I would
Correct.
classify as blackmail.
Okay, well, it is blackmail, but just hear me out. Okay. Stormy Daniels was threatened in this, right? Trump's lawyer negotiates a settlement with said person, correct?
He gets a blackmail deal. Yes.
Okay. Of $130,000. Wouldn't that be a legal service?
Again, from Trump to his lawyer, yes. From his lawyer to Stormy, that's a separate case. That's entirely separate.
But it's still a legal service because that is a legal service that Cohen accomplished for Trump, his client.
Yes, no one broke the law. There's no crime involved in this.
Okay. So that being said, where is the fraud?
There is no fraud.
Exactly.
Again, this is, like I said, this is commonplace. This is done all the time.
Doesn't Trump have a attorney-client privilege of conversations between him and his lawyer on legal matters?
Supposed to. He gave it up.
Trump did?
No, the lawyer did.
Exactly. Okay. So actually, Trump has a counter lawsuit against his lawyer for violating attorney-client privilege.
Well, he's also suing his niece, Mary Trump, because her testimony, and I believe it was one of her documents, led to the leak of the financial information that was used against him, information that she wasn't supposed to have nor be able to release to the public because there was no permission. So there you go.
Well, lawsuits aside, those are all going to be civil matters anyway.
Yes.
It has no bearing
Correct.
on the case whatsoever.
But also, and I think Cohen actually lost his law license.
He did because he's
during
been
his last
convicted.
conviction.
He's convicted and he admitted in court that he stole money, which even if he didn't lose his license beforehand, the admission in court that he committed a crime of stealing several tens of thousands of dollars is enough that immediately and instantly would disbar him if there were no other inciting incident, but he had already been convicted already and lost his license already. So he's unreliable witness, and he is his character is impugned by himself. He did it to himself.
Now I'm trying to see if I'm not mistaken, violation of attorney-client privilege, not only being a civil matter, is also a criminal matter.
Can be, yes.
Okay, so this violation, by rights, if we're being fair with the law,
We're not.
Cohen should be facing charges for that.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
We know that. Okay, but I'm being above board here.
You
And
can't be.
they
You
say-
can't be.
They say that nobody is above the law. So Cohen, not being above the law, regardless of his political affiliation, regardless of his feelings towards Trump, should be held accountable for his violation of attorney-client privilege.
Okay, first of all, that's a lie. There are lots of people whom we have seen that are held above the law. Hunter Biden, most recently, is a great example.
We know that. I'm using their rhetoric that they are using for Trump.
Yeah, but they don't care. Again, Mike, I understand what you're saying, and we can go through this 34 times. They don't care.
I know they don't. And that's the hypocrisy that I'm trying to point out.
You guys
Well,
are
already
sounding,
known.
you guys are sounding more and more like me every day.
That is the exact hypocrisy that I'm pointing out. Okay,
They-
is they literally violated the law in order to bring these allegations against Trump.
Yeah, we all
Jen, go ahead.
good, Jen.
I mean, my biggest thing, and I don't think people really realize this, but they took charges that were out of what's it
Statute of
called?
limitations.
Yeah, statute of limitations. They took charges that were supposed to be, if tried under the way that they want it tried federally, and feds came down and said, we ain't trying this. You have a DA yet again that said, I will do anything in my power to convict Trump.
That's Alvin Bragg. Yeah.
Elect me. I mean, there's just so many things that wrong. And then for the judge to go and say, well, you only need 4 people to convict.
I'm getting ready to get to that too. And you bring up some excellent points. Okay, number one, without the conviction of, or without the element of covering up an additional crime or to aid in the commission of another crime, this would be a misdemeanor. Now, every jury must reach a unanimous decision when they record a verdict. Okay. If all 12 jurors were not in agreement as to which crime he was supposedly doing this to aid in the commission of, or using these false, quote unquote, false business records to conceal, then they should not have returned any guilty verdict at all.
But it's political.
Oh, it
They
is.
were always.
I know that.
We have
Okay.
known.
And that's where the judges instructions to the jury where they don't have to be unanimous about the crime that was the additional criminal element is an error. Okay. And that's where it turned it political.
Well, no, it was political long before that. But that's why he's going to win on appeal, but no one cares about that. It's the same thing that we saw in Colorado when we had a judge who arbitrarily, because of their personal feelings, decided, hey, I'm just going to take Trump off the ballot and I'm going to convict him of a crime that he was never even charged with. People forget about what happened with Colorado, with the Colorado ballot, and that it had to go to the Supreme Court. This is the same thing. This is all about politics. It has nothing to do with the law. It has nothing to do with the execution of the law. This is political punishment of someone, of an opponent that the left, both in the news media and in government at this moment, do not like. That's all this is. And if they can do it to him, both because of his money, his position as an ex-president, as a candidate for the presidency of the United States, a viable candidate for the presidency of the United States, if they can do all of this to him, just kangaroo court all the way, then what are they going to do to everyone else? And what's going to happen when inevitably Republicans will get more power, and at some point, either immediately or long term, they're going to point back to everything that was just done and go, and now we're going to do it to your guy, Democrats. And America falls apart.
And
it's
that's it. Okay. And we will start seeing this over and over and over again.
Yeah. But everyone knows that. That's why Trump's raised $54 million in about 24 hours. That's why we're seeing, I believe you're going to see Trump get a boost in his polling numbers, why we have seen such an outrage across the internet, across media and America, where people are saying, no, they've gone too far. This is too obvious. It's too blatant. It is too much bias and prejudice. They're destroying America. And the Democrats are going, but Orange Man bad. That's their only answer because they have nothing else.
Well, and I think another thing to point out, Lori kind of brings it up, is the fact that how many riots did you see since last night? They said there'd be riots in the streets.
Oh, yeah.
The right doesn't, conservatives and people on the right don't riot. That's only left-leaning activists. I mean, yes, the Proud Boys, when they run into Antifa, they will have a fight. But if you just have the conservatives and the right, they don't have riots, like ever. But if you have the left, they always have riots, property destruction, people being assaulted, always. Whether or not they get arrested for every single thing or whether those charges get waived or not, that's separate. But there's always property destruction, violence, and law breaking on the left. It's undeniable.
So my question for you, Mr. Boss.
Yeah.
They're going to have his sentencing on the 11th, 4 days before the RNC gets together.
Yeah.
You think that they are going to tie his hands, put him on house arrest, so he can't go out and continue to get it out into the public?
No. They're going to throw him in prison. They're going to give him at least 1 year, 6 months to 1 year in prison.
That's election interference even more then.
Right. They want to lock him down so that he can't go out to any of the debates. He can't go out and run as an independent. He can't go to any of the rallies.
Here's the thing is Trump can file for an emergency appeal to stay that order of incarceration.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That's the legal process. What they're looking at is they want headlines. They want low information voters to think Trump can't do it. And if he does do it, Trump is taking too much power. The Democrats are right. Trump he didn't go to jail. America, this is an insurrection. The Democrats were right. I've got to vote Democrat to protect the democracy, which we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. But that being set aside for a moment, see, they were right. And that's the thought process they want. Low info voters to think Democrats are right because they don't understand the legal process. They don't understand the rights that are involved. And they're going to make sure CNN and MSNBC are not going to explain it for anyone. That's what they care about. So they're going to say he goes to prison for 6 months to a year so that while he's fighting, they're going to try and make sure that he doesn't get out in front of the public. And they think, well, if he can't speak to anyone, then he's going to lose. And I'm willing to tell you, they're going to do that, and Trump is going to have more popularity, and he's going to win stronger than if they didn't. That's my prediction. Does that make sense, Jan?
Mm-hmm.
You know what gets me? And this is something that Lori and I sit and we always talk about. You can have some town in like Bumscrew, Iowa, right? You get a town of like 17 people, and they have an elementary school, and one of the teachers decides that they want to put up a picture of the 10 Commandments. Within 13 and a half seconds, you've got the ACLU and everybody else breathing down that school's throat, and you got judges from every quarter that are filing all kinds of, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't. There's always some activist judge someplace trying to right that wrong, to stand up for the Constitution, to make sure that the law is followed and that, everything, all that stuff. Where do we have a single activist judge that has looked at this case from start to finish and said, hey, wait a second, you're taking non-crimes, stringing them together to try and create a crime, and the crime that you created is already, one, out of the jurisdiction of the state of New York. It would fall under federal if it were a crime. Two, is beyond any statute of limitations. And you are now instructing the jury that they can cobble together different parts of different facts to try and come up with something guilty. Where is there an appellate judge or a circuit judge or anything else right now that would step in and say, hey, you know what? This whole thing is a sham. No,
let's put unilaterally do it. They can't do it unilaterally.
Do it for everything else. You get a school turns around and decides that they want to have a no men in the bathroom policy at a girls' school. Some judge will come in there without being petitioned to do so and will order the school to have a stay on that decision. If somebody passes a law, Congress will pass a law, president will sign it, and you'll get some judge somewhere who will come out of the woodwork and say, nope, you can't do that. It's unconstitutional. I, myself, as a judge presiding over this court, am going to unilaterally make the decision that must have a stay.
There's always someone challenging. Judges don't unilaterally do that. They have to challenge. Someone has to make a challenge. Whether it's a big challenge, a little challenge, there has to be a challenge for them to then step in. Has to.
Look, my only hope with this whole thing was that this was allowed to go as far as it could go, to fully rip the mask off how bad and deep the corruption in our legal system has gotten. That if this didn't go the whole way, that no one would really know just how bad it would be. It's like, how much blood can you lose before you die? Was it 6 quarts, 7 quarts, or 8 quarts? Well, if we plugged a hole at 7 quarts, and you'll survive, we don't know if it's 7 or 8. They finally pushed as far as they could push and have gone the extreme. Everyone in America now sees how ridiculous it is. That's my only hope as to why it wasn't stopped. But these 12 jurors, I want an investigation into their checking accounts, their savings accounts. I want an investigation into all of their finances. I want an investigation into the judge. I want an investigation into the judge's daughter who raised $30 million for the Democrats based on this court case.
Yeah,
but why is the number 3 person from the Biden Justice Department sitting second chair at the prosecutor's table in this thing, and nobody notices?
Well, this isn't unusual. Well, it's unusual in that it's happening to a president, and unusual that it's happening at this level of government.
It's unusual that it's happening,
but
all.
But the power of the prosecution is enormous and always has been. And it's just that we're seeing that the scope of the application of that power in this case, how enormous and all-encompassing it can be. But I think one of the biggest things is when we're looking at this, it's not getting out to the rest of the public. I know people watching this channel, you guys, we're political junkies. We're paying attention to stuff that most people aren't. They're watching the housewives of whatever the hell. They're out there and they're watching a bunch of stupid movies that are completely failed. That's what they're doing. They have no idea. I just saw today, less than 24 hours after, and I did a video on this earlier, there's a YouGov poll that came out today at noon. That's the first time that I saw it, noon. And the poll was about this trial. And in the poll, now people have all taken polls online. You have instant results on the polls, especially from YouGov. I answer, they go, here's the percentages, how everyone else is voting, and then they go to the next question. Except on this case, they ask, do you think that Trump got a fair trial? When you answer that, they don't show you what everyone else who's taken this poll has said. They don't give you that answer. Instead, they say, a recent poll said, well, who cares? A recent poll wasn't within the last 24 hours. You're giving me an answer to a question that didn't exist, a scenario that didn't exist yet. So who cares what that poll recently said? But they're pushing that because it pushes it just so happens that the numbers they're quoting from a poll, they're not giving us the date. They're not telling us what the question was. All they're telling us is a poll at some point that they took said that, oh, well, half the nation said, 50% of the people who took the poll said that Trump was guilty. Well, guess what? That wasn't within the last 24 hours. They are already trying. That's propaganda. That is pushing a propaganda ideology into there. So everyone who's taking the poll is saying, well, I voted that it wasn't, but 50% already think that he was guilty, even though I didn't. Yeah, but we don't know how many people today taking the poll right now said, no, this looks guilty. This looks criminal, what was done to Trump. They won't tell people the truth. They're pushing their version of the truth, hoping no one notices the difference. Good. That's today's poll. Today, I have a video on it. I actually show the poll and I show the numbers. They're hiding active live poll numbers from the public. That's criminal. Well, that should be. It's not criminalizing a crime, but it's deceptive. Go ahead. Yeah, I know.
So, yeah, I mean, basically, general election, if you take everybody that is still classified as in the election,
2.2.
He is leading by 2.2. Okay. If you just do general election Trump Biden, he's leading by 1. In Wisconsin, he's leading by 0.1 point. In Arizona, he's leading by 4 points. In Nevada, he's leading by 5.4 points.
Yeah, if you hit the arrow keys, you'll see the other swing states. Trump is winning 6 out of 7 of the swing states.
No, they're only doing on this time around. They're only doing 3 on this particular one.
They used to have more, so they
did.
So I guess Trump's locked down all the rest of them.
So they're showing the 3 closest.
Okay. And we look down through here and we see NPR supposedly has Biden up by 2 on Thursday, May 30th.
Well, they only polled the 3 people who work there.
But Forbes Harris X shows on Saturday, June 1st, Trump leading by 2.
Actually, they have a different chart that shows going back 18 months. And you'll see that the trend since April of 2023, Trump has been leading anywhere from 1 to 7 points. There's an entire chart there. Basically works out that Biden wins 1 out of 10 of the polls that have been done since April of 2023. There's about another 1 out of 10 that wind up being tied. And then the other 8 out of 10, Trump wins somewhere between 1 to 7 points, averaging about 2.5 points over the time period, April 2023 to today. That's whether or not you have all 5 candidates, which doesn't include Libertarian. That happened this week. But the top 5 candidates, which includes RFK, that includes Cornel West, that includes Jill Stein, who are absolutely going to lose, and they'll be lucky that the 3 of them put together get to 12%. And even with that, and Joe Biden, Trump still wins by the same numbers with the same consistency every single time. I know these numbers forwards and backwards.
And in key battles, okay, Arizona shows Trump up by 4. Georgia, okay. Now, mind you, supposedly Trump lost Arizona. Supposedly Trump lost Georgia. Trump's up by 4.8. Michigan, Trump's up by 0.5. Nevada, another state that Trump supposedly lost, 5.4. North Carolina, he's up by 4.8. Pennsylvania, he's up by 2.3. Wisconsin, he's up by 0.1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 battleground states. Trump is leading in all of them. Now, mind you, 0.1%, that's within margin error. Same with 0.5%. But the rest of them, you're talking 2 to 5% or 5 points.
Wisconsin is the one that is technically, on average, has been considered Biden. The other 6 consistently have been pro-Trump, Trump winning in each and every one of the other 6. Just Wisconsin is the only one. And now it seems like we're starting to see Trump rally even there.
I think Democrats have probably shot themselves in the foot
a long time ago.
Well, their only hope now is the same tricks that stole them the election last time.
Everybody knows about it now. It's the fortification of 2024.
But nobody did anything to change it. Nobody did anything to change any of the conditions that led to the debacle from the last one. There is still no voter ID. They're still going to do the mail-in ballots. They're still going to do the drop-offs. They're still going to have the mule. Still going to do the counting with the plywood in front of the windows.
That's not exactly correct. That's not exactly correct, Frank.
No, it is correct.
There have been many of the things you just mentioned were all done because of emergency sessions of states like Michigan, like Pennsylvania.
And a lot of that stuff expired.
One, they were based on temporary. They were only for 2020, the 2020-2022 election cycle. But also many of them have already been in court and they have been overturned. So a lot of that stuff doesn't exist. Now, yes, there's still mail-in ballots. There's a lot more mail-in ballots than there were in the past. We still have funky laws, but we've always had those funky laws.
Listen, here's the ultimate question. Is voter ID the law in every state?
No.
Is paper balloting the law in every state?
No.
Then nothing has changed. It doesn't matter.
But that
none of the rest
exist
of the
before.
bullshit changes, because as long as those computerized machines are in place, and as long as you have the same crap that was going on, it doesn't matter what shoe is on what foot and what glove is on what hand. All they did is shuffle the deck. All they did is to shuffle the deck to give the voter the appearance that they did something.
I understand the pessimism. I do. But the system that's here now is essentially the same system that's been around since 2000. Democrats can still lose in that. My biggest concern is the biggest thing that made 2020 such a problem was that we had the shadow cabal, a coalition of news media, of politicians, of political organizations working together to railroad the public into one decision, which made the race a lot closer and a lot more difficult than it probably should have been. And we have seen that. Now, when you add in all the other factors, then that's where we get the overwhelming result or the magnitude of the result. And that's why you're not seeing the same thing this time, because we don't have all of those compounding factors from 2020 happening in 2024. And all you're seeing is the impact we're seeing right now is all of the attempt to funnel or fortify the election like they did last time. We have the same kind of social media and Google bias that they've come out and they've said, we've talked about it on this show for months now, since November. They've been saying, oh, well, we're going to isolate certain conversations. We're going to deny people access to these kind of conversations. We're going to eliminate these people from the algorithms, and we're going to emphasize the mainstream approved media for these conversations. That stuff's still happening. But I think more people know about it because they saw it, and it's not working this time because more people are paying attention. I truly think that.
Do you know why you don't find a lot of magicians out there anymore that pull rabbits out of hats?
Because we have computers?
No, because everybody knows how the trick is done, so the magician has to come up with something new. Get ready for something new come November. Because whatever they did to change or thwart the actions that took place in 2020, there's been something else cooking on the back burner that we haven't even seen yet.
They're not that smart, nor is it that difficult. It's politics. Politics doesn't really change all that much.
If you would have said that, how easy it would have been for them to manufacture 11 million votes for Joe Biden, I would have said you were crazy 5 years ago. If you would have told me that 5 years ago.
But I have said that before.
We saw it happen. We saw the evidence right in front of our face. We saw our court system, our beloved judicial system in this country, look at the evidence and say, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. The proof doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have no rights. You have no choice. This is what we, the power brokers, decided a long time ago, and we're just giving you the illusion of choice.
You and I, Frank, we disagree on this. The magnitude of it, we disagree on. That's not new. Jen, you jump in. Because I don't want to dominate the whole thing. Me and Frank arguing, we could do this the entire show. God knows we have before.
I agree with you both, because I have seen some things where it shows, like you said, things have run out, things because of the emergency that they claim because of the pandemic. But I also agree with Frank in some ways. I said it. I don't remember if it was in chat or when I was on here last, but they haven't really, you haven't seen state legislators really do anything. You know, voter ID. I saw an article today that said the illegal aliens were going to be the ones to determine who our next president is. Well, because Democrats are out there trying to figure out any way and every way they can to get all these illegal immigrants that they're given driver's license to, who automatically get registered to vote when they get a driver's license in most of these states. So who's to say they're not going to vote?
Well, that kills two birds with one stone, because now if you have somebody who you have a state that requires ID, well, now you got both an ID and a registered vote, because nobody's going to check for citizenship. Because the driver's license that they're going to get is not going to say illegal resident on it. No. It's going to be a conventional driver's license.
Yep.
So they're giving you.
I think my other biggest worry, and we've seen it in a few elections now, is, we have a water main break. We got to stop the count.
Yeah, that's bad. And we got a water main break, except there's no water main broken.
The election doesn't end on election day. You can go a month past election day now.
My good friend Claudia Tenney, who's a congresswoman at this time in 2020, had her race against Anthony Brindisi, and they found a little flash drive in a desk a month after the election. This is a race that was, at the time, I believe she had a lead of 10 votes. This is a congressional race for the New York 22nd District. It was 10 votes in her favor in the courts a month after the election, when somebody said, I found a flash drive in a drawer. It has 1,000 votes in it. And the judge said, we'll count that. And suddenly she went from being 10 votes up to 100 votes down. That went to the courts. She eventually won. That was thrown out. No, actually, it wasn't thrown out, but they found other votes that they threw out. But those votes on the flash drive a month after the fact for the New York 22nd District counted. We got problems.
Well,
I'm not saying we don't.
I don't know if you guys saw this week, but there was an article out of Georgia that they found all those votes that Trump's called the governor about and said, hey, or the Secretary of State or whoever it was said, hey, there's something wrong. Those votes are out there. The Secretary of State knew all those votes were out there before Trump called him. I saw an article where there was a list, and it showed every single vote that should have gone to Trump that didn't.
Well, we believe they should have been attributed to one candidate or another, but
they figured it out in the forensic audit.
Not in every state, and they'll shut us down if we even pursue that conversation.
Now, what I have up here on the screen right now is from Ballotpedia. The states in yellow claim that they allow non-citizens voting only in state and local elections.
Which is a lie.
Okay. And that's California, Vermont, and Maryland.
Yeah. All of them progressive states, by the way.
Green prohibit non-citizens from voting.
Yeah.
The states in purple have ballot measures for the 2024 election as to whether or not they are going to allow non-citizens to vote.
Our Constitution states you have to be a legal citizen to vote.
Yes, but the left wants to expand. They want to give rights to non-American citizens because it's it benefits their political ideology. And looking at the map, you can see where are these states where they are giving away rights that should only belong to Americans. They're all progressive strongholds. You don't see this in Kansas. It's not going to happen. You're not seeing this in Ohio. You're not seeing this in Iowa. You're seeing it in
Yes, you are
California.
seeing. Iowa has a ballot measure.
Was Iowa one of the ones? All right.
Yes.
That's going to fail. But
I imagine it will, but they do have it on the ballot. So does Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky's going to fail. Iowa will fail. But you've got Detroit, or Michigan. That'll probably get through. And this is my point.
Now, here's another thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So only the green prohibit non-citizens voting.
Yeah. The
yellow specifically allow for it.
Yes.
There's an awful lot of gray.
Mm-hmm. Where illegals can vote, and if you catch it, it will be thrown out. If you look for it, if you catch it. As an example, in New York State, which tried to give the vote to illegal aliens and was overruled by the courts. They passed it. It was found to be unconstitutional, got dropped. But here's the trick. When you look at the voter rolls and you see 50,000 Ramirez's, and you're looking for Juan Ramirez because you think Juan Ramirez may not be an American citizen.
And there's 75 Juan Ramirez's.
Oh, hell, you're going to get 1,000. We got a city of 8 million people with one of the huge, we already had a huge Hispanic population, and then we've been flooded by illegal aliens and legal individuals as well. We got you'll find easily 1,000 Juans. I could probably find 1,000 of them within 10 blocks of where I'm at in the Bronx right now. It's not racist. It's just a lot of Hispanic people. And now you've got to go through all those to try and figure out, okay, and which one is the one that's not a citizen? You can't do it. But it's gray. So they go with, but if you could find it, we wouldn't count it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like someone's going to be able to find it.
And also, in those gray states, there is no specific prohibition. So that doesn't mean that it's illegal. So they can't be charged if they are actually caught.
Most of them, yeah. Like I said, New York, it is explicit. Well, in New York City, it was found to be explicitly illegal. Various counties and the district, that's a different question. Sorry to put the downer on some of these things, folks, but the reality is we have moved so far into authoritarianism under the name of democracy, which we are not. We have never been a democracy. But they keep saying, we have to save democracy. We're not a democracy. Specifically because of the stupid crap we are seeing happening right now. And they are trying to convince people we're a democracy, mostly because Democrats, their name is Democrats, so they wanted to say democracy to make you subliminally think, oh, well, I support democracy, so I must support Democrats. That's literally, they're playing a word game with you. That's why they keep pushing democracy, because we're a constitutional republic.
Well, no, they want mob rule, which is what democracy is. Democracy is mob rule.
No,
that's why they are pushing so hard for the popular vote for the presidential election and so forth. Okay, democracy, by its very nature, excludes minorities.
Well, it would have to by definition.
Exactly. Okay, exactly. People don't get that. And that's why we were specifically formed as a republic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, was to protect individual rights. And the smallest minority there is the individual. And if you have a democracy, individual rights go by the wayside.
But that's where you were just a little bit mistaken, Michael, when you said people don't get that. No, people do get that. You know who gets it? The people that want democracy. They understand that completely. They are 100% behind the idea of limiting the vote and the rights of minorities. And they will classify every one of us in one way or another. Listen, it's not just going to be Black Americans that are going to be a minority. It won't be Latino Americans or Asian Americans that are Latino. They will break us up into every category you could possibly imagine so they could reclassify every group as its own minority and then restrict the rights of said group so they can enhance their authoritarian power. The people that say, oh, I'm about democracy, if you say, well, you don't get that, that's mob rule. And no, yeah, they get that. They understand that completely. They understand that completely. There was a whole war in 1861 that, was about, making sure that individuals had rights. They understand completely. That's why they want it. They want to break us all up into each one of those little conclaves of
they already are.
Right.
They already are. You're describing equity.
Right. And
You're
that's
literally describing equity right now.
Right. They get it. Who doesn't get it are the people that think that don't think that that's what it is. Those are the people that think, oh, everybody's equal. Everybody should be able to get along and all that kumbaya bullshit. That's the people
College graduates
who don't,
Here's something interesting. And Thomas Sowell
actually puts this very well. Okay. There is no such thing as equality.
True.
Absolutely zero. There is no such thing as equality. Okay. I myself am not equal to the person I was yesterday, nor will I be equal to the person I will be tomorrow. Okay. In any given hour, you're not equal to yourself. So how can there be equality amongst different people if you can't even be equal with yourself?
Yeah, but forget about the self. Everybody is, all people are inherently different. Not everyone is equal. I am not equal to Michael Jordan in basketball. There you go. Michael Jordan is not equal to me in politics. It's just the way of life. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So we're equivalent, but there's no, and equity isn't going to make me a basketball player on the level of Michael Jordan or a golfer on the level of Tiger Woods. Never going to happen. But equity will punish them for all the talent and effort that they have put in to push me up because, well, they want to take advantage and have me beat Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods. It's not because I'm better than them. They will just gimmick the system so that no matter what they do, they can never win against me. That is modern day DEI. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. And quite truthfully, okay, the only thing that we are supposed to be granted as far as equality is we are supposed to be equal under the law.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I.e., we're all presumed innocent. We're supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Okay.
Justice is no longer blind.
So we are supposed to be treated equal under the law. And that's where, as we saw with what we went through at the beginning of this stream, okay, that is not being done. Okay, they try to hold Trump up as an example of, yeah, we hold everybody equal under the law. No, bullshit. Where's the trial for Hunter Biden? Okay, where's the trial for Joe Biden on his classified documents case? Okay, bullshit on everybody being treated equally under the law, because they're not.
Yeah, what we need to do is stop being we need to hold politicians more accountable, and we need to be less forgiving of these violations. The public needs to be involved. We don't need, a great example is, we keep hearing, oh, we need to pass a term limits bill. No, the hell we don't. We already have the ability to have term limits. It's called get up off your couch, go vote. And if they've been there for more than 6 years, vote for someone else. Be involved in the process from the beginning. Go out, run for office yourself, or find someone who should run, petition, get them on the ballot, and vote for them. That's term limits. It means you get up and you vote. And you have to be active. You have to be involved. That's term limits. We don't need a law for that. Because if we write it as a law, there will be a loophole and someone will take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. We need to just be involved. We need to hold these people accountable.
Another thing to go in on all this is what's going on with them trying to sanction or do whatever they are trying to do with Judge Alito. His wife threw an upside down flag a couple of years ago. And now they're coming back and saying that he has, what is it? He all
he's biased.
They want to do on, all the sanctioning they want to do on the Supreme Court justices now, because he's an insurrectionist, because that flag was flown upside down. They don't even understand what the meaning of an upside down flag is.
Well, no, they're changing the meaning of an upside down flag. It is always meant, from virtually the beginning of our nation, and I think actually before the beginning of our nation, it was meant as a signal, mostly for naval ships, that there is distress. It has always meant that. That is its definition.
And that is any flag.
Yeah, any flag anywhere in the world. It's a universal signal, because it's meant for shipping. It's meant to, or forts. It's meant as a way to notify others that there's a problem here. It's in the rules and regulations on how to care for a flag. And now the media, because people don't know, have come up with their own definition and said, oh, no, but that means MAGA. Screw you. No, it doesn't. It never has. It pre-existed long before MAGA. It existed before there was a radio, okay? Before there was electricity. This has been literally before there was electricity, flags upside down meant distress. That's how old this tradition is. And so they're trying to, but this is the same thing as, well, what's the definition of a man? The opposite of a woman. What's the definition of a woman? The opposite of a man. Oh, we're just going to make up useless definitions that only serve a political purpose. And that's what the media is doing right now with the flag. So they can punish. They already hate the Supreme Court that exists right now. They already want to punish them for not being progressive. What better way than, oh, your wife decided to make a political statement, which is her right. Also, the right of every member of the Supreme Court has a First Amendment right to express themselves, which they did peacefully, and they did it while publicly on their own property. Limited access to the public So they weren't influencing the nation. That is their right. And they're like, oh, you are evil and it's so terrible. And it's an insurrection. No,
I was just impressed by the fact that Alito had such a modest home.
I was impressed that his wife was like, no, we are doing this. Good for her.
Well, yeah. All right. Listen, it's now 12:15. I'm going to be out of here in a few minutes, but before we do,
10. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to make a little announcement I alluded to last time we were on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to do this little plug here because we are proud to announce that where the hell did Vas go? I'm about to make an announcement and it disappeared.
I'm listening to you.
Oh, he was eating. You're eating.
I don't eat on the camera. I didn't go anywhere. I'm right here.
All right. Liberty First Foundation has just picked up a sponsor. Okay, we have got a sponsor of the Occupy company who makes this device called Tag Me. Now, Tag Me, for what you guys don't know, I gave a little bit of information about this a while back, and I have been testing this device for several months now here in the house. What Tag Me is this little device that kind of looks like a watch. And what you can do is you can mount this to anything in your home, and this is specifically designed for firearms. Now, due to the fact that YouTube will pull the plug on me as soon as I pull one of these things down off the wall and hold it in my hand, I can't show you how it works on a gun, but I can show you otherwise. Now, this is my phone, and right now I have no alerts on my phone at all. There? I have no alerts. This is the Tag Me device that I just picked up. If I had this on the frame or receiver or grip of my firearm, and somebody picked it up, all of a sudden, I now have
can't see because of the glare.
Yeah, the glare. Well, all right, you can see it right. It's that right there. I hit that alert right there, and there's the Occupy. It pops up. It pops open the app, and it tells me that one of my firearms has just been moved. Now, the Occupy device will come with one base station and will come with one of these little doohickeys. Now, the little doohickey in the middle of this thing is kind of like, it's not a tracking device. So for everybody who's saying, oh, I don't want my stuff being tracked, it's not a tracking device. It's a motion sensor. You'll come with one of these. Each one of these base units can handle 10 of these devices. And every single one of them can be custom tailored and custom named to whatever device that you have. So you can individually put these on whatever you want, or you can put them remotely around your home. So say you want to have a kitchen drawer that you want to make sure that if any of the kids are going into the drawer, you know about it. Well, you can mount one in the drawer. You can mount one in your medicine cabinet. You can mount one in your pill bottles. You can mount it in your knife drawer, a safe, any of your medicine cabinets in your bathroom. There's thousands and thousands of uses that you have. So for any time that you want to know that somebody might be going and touching your stuff, you have a roommate, you want to make sure that your private drawer, your private drawer isn't being touched, throw one of these in there without anybody knowing it. And if somebody should happen to open up the drawer, this will notify you the exact day and time. And since you can earmark them for what you want them to be earmarked for, you'll know precisely what was been touched. Now, Occupy originally started as a paid membership thing. Well, now they now changed their policy. You buy one of these things, you get notified for life. You don't have a monthly service plan or anything. You get notified for life. Now, there are plans that go on and extend where you could actually pay for various services that they provide, where they'll notify a friend. You know, let's say you're going on vacation and they want to do that. You can hook this into your alarm system, have it directly monitored. They have a monitoring service that they've established now. They can monitor this. And you might say, all right, well, that's great. Somebody knows that I've moved my gun, but how does that prevent them from using my gun? You're 100% right. Occupy now has two other devices that they've created. One is a trigger lock. that goes on the trigger housing of your firearm and has the motion sensor in it. So not only will you know if somebody picked up your gun and moved it, but it will prevent them from using the gun as well. There's also a cable lock for shotguns and rifles that will lock up the entire action of a shotgun or rifle. So if you have like a rack, and you have your guns, you like leaving them on display, but you don't want no one to be able to use them. You can use those too. Now, next week, I'm going to announce a contest that we're going to do, and we are going to be giving away 5 of these right here on the show. All right, we're going to do a little bit of a contest. We're going to have it's going to run through our website. Michael, Marshall, and I are going to figure out exactly how to do that, where we're going to be asking everybody to help us by sharing the program, sharing the website, promoting our YouTube channels, and so forth. We're not going to be
our membership drive.
Right. If you want to do the membership drive, whatever it is, we're going to be giving away 5 of these systems. Now, it's going to be the basic system that we're going to be giving away of the Occupy home base and the monitoring system band, which is also, you can turn it into a keychain too if you want to. They have a bunch of various accessories that come in the box, so you can change the configuration of it. But we're going to be giving 5 of these away, and we're also going to be figuring out how to do how to be giving away the various locks, so people can try that out and they can do that. But we want to let everybody know that this is a really, listen, they approached us. I got approached by this company about 8 months ago, and I had absolutely no intention of doing anything with this company but review the product. And up until I was at NRA a couple of weeks ago, and I told Lori, I says, listen, I'm gonna go talk to the guys over at the Occupy booth. This is the first real test that I want to do. I want you at a specific time to move this around a couple of different times. You're here in North Carolina. I'm going to be over there in Texas. I want to see how quickly it monitors it. The monitor went off before her text message got to me. That's how quick it was, and I'm 1,000 miles away. So if you want to have now the most important thing I found so far, and I'm sorry to get off on a rant, but I love the product because it gives me a lot of peace of mind. If I know that I have a firearm in the house that's specifically meant for home defense, and it's the one firearm that I know that Lori's going to get to, if God forbid she needed to, she'll be able to get to the gun quicker than she can get to the phone. I can guarantee that. So anybody looking to come here looking for trouble, you're barking up the wrong tree. Believe me when I tell you. But if I'm not home and I have this on the gun, that the only time that gun is going to ever move is when it's needed. If I'm not home and I get an alert on my phone, I know exactly that there's a problem, and I know where I'm going. This gives me the peace of mind knowing that this is a second line of communication between me and my wife, so that I can respond quicker than the police can. I can respond with the police. I can make sure that she's okay. And it gives me a lot of peace of mind. And he said, thousands upon thousands of applications for this thing. These guys just happen to want to throw it in the firearm community because they want people to be safe. They want people
here's another thing. A lot of people have pools, above ground pools, or in-ground pools, and they have gates or doors preventing it.
Exactly.
So you set that up as a door to notify you if a door or a gate opens to your pool area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Small kids, that's a great thing to know.
Excellent point, Michael. This, like I said, this is in a completely enclosed, rubberized housing. You can't get into it. So, I mean, it's weatherproof. It's waterproof. It's going to be very durable, to say the least. And like I said, there's thousands of applications. Anything they even have ones now. They'll about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bit thicker, and you can take them and insert them into the inside of the cap of your pill bottle. So say you have, prescription drugs in your house that you need to have access to, but you want to make sure that nobody else is messing with them when you're not around. As soon as somebody tries to move that bottle or grab that cap, you get an alarm on your phone. It makes it so much easier than having to worry about having cameras all over the place. And what's nice is you can't see this, what the studio looks like. This is an armory, all right? This is I have a secure room in the house, all right? You can't get in here. I have this whole place wired with cameras and alarms, all right? I got cameras everywhere. If by some chance something in this room moved and I get an alert on my phone that one of my guns has been moving, I can get that alarm and I hit the other app and I turn all the cameras on. I get a live feed, 24-hour live feed to my phone of every camera that's in and on the property. But I can click, okay, which camera, that sensor went off, okay, give me the camera for the armory. I can pull it up live, watch it live feed with somebody messing with my stuff. And I don't have to worry about paying a monthly monitoring fee to do that. So while you have ADT or any of these home services where you're paying $59 a month to monitor it, you become your own monitoring station. So you save money with that too. But all right, I digress. Like I listen, if you guys watch my YouTube channel, you know damn well that if something sucks, I tell you that it sucks. I don't pull any punches with this stuff. I have been reluctant to even put the video reviews of this up there because I wanted to make sure that it worked in every circumstance that I threw at it, and it does. And when I spoke to them and I told them how impressed I was with this, they made the offer that said, we would really like to put this out into the public. Would you accept taking some of these to give out to people on the show? And I said, yeah. And listen, this is not when I say it's a sponsorship, it's not a financial sponsorship. This is a product I'm happy to endorse for free because I know this is a product that can save lives. And we're going to be handing them out because to us, that's more important than anything else. So we're not necessarily a sponsor. They're not necessarily a sponsor, but how would you say it? An affiliate? An affiliate who has a like-minded affiliate. And besides that, if we give you one of these things and you like it, you're probably going to go to the website and buy 9 more to fill up the station that we're giving you because they really are that great. And I think the basic service, the basic package is like $129. So that's what each one of these units costs with the base station and one unit. Each one of these units is substantially less because you don't have to buy another base station. But that base station will handle 10 of these. And you just plug it in, you address it to your Wi-Fi, run it through the app in your phone, and you're done. And as soon as you name each one of these things, as soon as one moves, your phone lets you know about it.
And Frank was able to set that up without assistance. That's pretty good because Frank's not a very technical guy.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, while I've been bouncing this thing around, I've got 20. You can't really tell.
Nope.
There's 24 notifications. I moved that band around 24 times, and it notified me every single time that moved. It notified me. So I think that's pretty impressive.
I think people should actually think about. There's so many other applications that you can use this for, in so many ways around your house. All the various valuables you might have. So it's not for, obviously, we're very much pro 2A, of course, but for those who aren't and who happen to be watching this program, think about it for a second. I guarantee you, there's something that you believe that is valuable to you, something that you want to protect. And even for those in the 2A community, not only do you want this for, obviously, your firearms, but there's also applications of this for so much else that you love. People should be looking into this. They really should be looking at this company. It's very interesting. And of course,
here's
we're
one
not
other
getting paid
thing.
for this.
Okay. child safety is always a big concern for everybody. Okay, and I'm going to go a route here that's not 2A for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If you have young toddlers and they're in their room asleep and so forth, and their door opens when you're not the one opening it, wouldn't you want to know that?
Yeah, you can set up for that too. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways of families, individuals can use this for so many things.
Yeah,
and obviously,
those are just a couple of things came off the top of my head just since we've been talking about it. You are literally limited by your imagination on how you could use this.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can't see it, Frank.
I wish I could. Oh, let me see if I can tone down the
dim your screen.
Yeah, dim my screen a little bit. All right, see
now
it's a little bit better.
I've got 15 urgent notifications and a bunch of general locations. If I hit that one, it's telling me that gun 1 home base moved, and then it gives me a complete list of every single one of the times that it moved and the time and everything. Now, like I said, remember, this is not a geolocator. You know, a lot of people will be like, well, I don't want anybody knowing where my guns are. It's not telling you where your guns are. You know where your guns are. You know where you put your shit. Don't worry about it. Nobody's tracking you. There's no matter of fact, you don't need anything else other than an email address to get this thing going. The company will not ask you for your name, will not ask you for your credit card. If you buy into the service, it's done through Apple Pay or Android Pay. So, and it's done anonymously through a third-party system. So the company does not have any idea who you are, doesn't share your information because it doesn't collect your information from anybody. It's done with the complete and total anonymity. You have a lot of these companies that were out there talking about, oh, your credit cards are being tracked when you buy guns or ammunition, and they're reporting to the government that you're doing it. Well, they could only do that if they know what you were buying. Well, if they knew that you were using this to secure firearms, okay, well, maybe I'm not using it to secure firearms. Maybe I'm using it to secure something else. The company doesn't give a damn what you're going to secure it for. Whatever that you think is important that you need to protect, you throw one of these things on it and you protect it with it, and your information is secure. Not motion move. I keep getting motion detected. So the company does everything they can to keep you anonymous, to keep your information secure. They don't even want to know where your stuff is being sent to. You can't even buy this directly from the company. You have to get it from an authorized dealer. So they ship to a dealer and the dealer ships to you. So the company doesn't even have to know where you are. And I know that for me as a gun owner, the less the government knows about, like I give a shit that somebody's going to see my collection behind me or part of my collection, because I don't care, like, come get me. But there's a lot of people that don't have my mentality. There's a lot of people that say, oh, I lost all my guns in a boating accident. Number one, stop that, man up. Number two, I understand why you would have that concern. Nobody wants that knock on the door with the guy with the ATF shirt on. So a lot of us want to protect our anonymity. This company does that to 100% T. So, like I said, if I didn't feel confident with the product, I didn't feel confident with the people that are running the show there, I would not have agreed to take this on as something that we would pass on to you guys. So, like I said, because we don't sugarcoat anything on the show. There's no bullshit. If something sucks, we tell you about it. If something's good, we tell you about it. And if we're willing to give it away to somebody for free, then we got to believe pretty strongly that it works. So with that, I'm going to get the hell out of here because I'm still in a bit of pain and my foot hurts. I still haven't been able to get over my foot ache from walking all that distance around Texas. Is killing me. But listen, I'm gonna get going. Great seeing you guys. Jan, thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you being here. And everybody in the audience, thank you for being here. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Check out the Range Report. I got a ton of new gun reviews coming out this week. A whole bunch of stuff, from big stuff to small stuff to stuff in between, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So you guys be safe, shoot straight. Love you guys.
Love you too, Frank.
Have a great night, Frank.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna head out too, guys, because I did a lot of weed eating today and my back's killing me. But I wanted to make sure I came on tonight because talking about Trump and stuff.
Oh yeah.
No,
we appreciate you being on tonight, Jan. Thank you.
Always.
All right.
I wanted to bring up something and I put it in the comments a little bit earlier. And I'll share this with you guys so you can see it on your screen. So, news came out a little bit earlier today at the Brooklyn Museum. This is from ABC News, left-leaning news media. The pro-Hamas protesters. Remember at the very, very beginning of the show, we were talking about how always, every time the left has a protest, there is destruction. There are people who are attacked or intimidated, that there is always violence connected to everything that the left does. Today, it is now being announced. The news came out 27 minutes ago from ABC News this afternoon. The pro-Hamas protesters, the same ones that support the Gaza Pier and support Hamas that killed 34 Americans. Huh?
The Gaza Pier didn't hold up.
Well, yeah, I'm going to get to that in a minute. But the same ones that are supporting Hamas that killed 34 innocent civilian Americans, took 22 Americans, innocent civilian Americans, have been torturing them, have been sexually abusing them for 8 months in a row. Yeah, the people who support all of that, they want more of that in the world. Just went to the Brooklyn Museum, tried to take it over, destroyed things in the museum, attacked people in the museum, and got arrested. Oh, and by the way, some of them also went up to Colombia and put in another tent city, which is an autonomous zone, which is also insurrectionist by definition. You want to talk about insurrection? Yeah, Colombia, they have another tent city. They have another autonomous zone that is insurrectionist. And at the same time, other members of those same left-leaning groups are in the museum, Brooklyn Museum, destroying it as we speak, attacking people as we speak, to intimidate you, to make you vote left, to support Biden, to help terrorism in the world, to help Hamas and Iran. Gee, I wonder why President Trump is doing so well, even as they try to throw every charge in the universe at him. But that was breaking news, so I wanted to make sure we covered that. And I thank Dal for highlighting it for me while we were doing some other stuff. Now, that being said, I also had wanted to talk about the Gaza Pier. Because we spent, when I say we, I mean Joe Biden, spent $320 million.
Our money.
of the public's money, because he wanted to get votes. He wanted to get 100,000 votes, 101,000 votes in Michigan, to be exact. These are Rashida Tlaib's people. This is Dearborn, Michigan, Ilhan Omar's people. He wanted 100,000 of their votes. And 2 days before, when he saw that he was going to lose their vote, 2 days before the State of the Union, he changed the State of the Union to say, we're going to go and build a pier for Hamas, the terrorists that kill Americans, that torture Americans. And so he said, well, we're going to take care of him because humanitarian and vote for Biden. So it took him 90 days. It got built and it lasted 8 days. Think about that, folks. It lasted exactly 8 days before it fell apart. Now, we have to spend God knows how many tens of millions of dollars because he wants to rebuild it. In fact, they are building it as we speak right now. They are rebuilding the pier for Hamas, the terrorists that killed Americans. We're building them. So we're spending, it's going to wind up costing us, let's say it costs only, if it even just costs 10% more, that's $350 million that we are spending on terrorism. I'm sure Columbia University and Harvard are very proud. The rest of the world, I don't think so. Not very much. This is horrendous. This is stupid. And it tells you how inept this entire process was. Biden came up in the last second and said, we got to build this. This will get us votes, and forced the military, who had no idea this was going to happen, to rush on out and try and put something together. And they put in a half-assed effort and slapdashed something together that cost us $320 million. That's how much money it costs when you're doing things sloppy and stupid in the United States government. It's just incredibly expensive. For it to last 8 days and fall apart. And now we're going to build it more. This is the Biden administration. This is the definition of Biden's international policy right there. Do something at the last second, slap it together so you look good, but there's no substance to it. It doesn't last. It's absolutely the worst thing you could possibly be doing, but it looks good enough for a headline, and you're going to spend stupid amounts of the public's money to get it done. And it will fail. It will fail epically. And that's what we see. Did you hear about this, Mike?
What was that?
Did you hear about this, Mike?
Yes, I did. And I think it's just, it's more of that build back better.
Yeah, give me MAGA instead. I don't want to build back better for Hamas.
Well, they're also trying to come down on Israel extremely hard for going into Rafah. And the thing I find really interesting, is there's so much pushback for Israel going into Rafah, but that's also where Israel is finding all the hostages.
You mean the dead body of hostages?
Well, they also were able to. They rescued 2 hostages in Rafah as well, but that's back February 12th.
Yeah, that's not recent. I'm not counting those. We already knew about those. Those have been accounted in the count of 154 existing hostages.
Mm-hmm.
None of them, no one who's been released out of that 154 are Americans.
But I think it's very interesting how the quote unquote international community is coming down so hard on Israel for entering Rafah. And since they've been in there, there's been at least, that I know about, at least 13 bodies of hostages that have been recovered since they've entered.
Yeah, there has been. I think it's because they're embarrassed. The rest of the world is embarrassed because Hamas is being shown to be exactly the terrorists that they have always been accused of being. Mm-hmm. That they are showing how they are willing to kill civilians, how they abuse their own people. We're seeing that all come about, not just in Rafah, but throughout the entire Gaza. We are seeing that Hamas are terrorists. And these governments have been supporting this terrorism. And rather than admit they got it wrong, because that might cost an election, They're instead saying, oh, no, Israel's got to be the bad guy.
Yeah. And one of the biggest reasons why I'm specifically pointing out Rafah, okay, is there is so much pushback on them entering Rafah, and they're trying to claim how much collateral damage that Israel is causing in Rafah. But also, this is where they are finding the hostages. This has been the main concentration of hostages that have been recovered, whether dead or alive.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that's where the hostages are, which is important. But, when they say, oh, but all the collateral damage. Well, first of all, where do we get these numbers from on collateral? It comes from Hamas, the terrorists. Just like when they say, well, there's 33,000 Palestinians that were killed. Yes, and how many of them were Hamas fighters? How many of them were fighting under the banner of Hamas for terrorism, fighting with the army of Israel? Oh, they don't want to tell you that number. They lump everyone as a non-combatant when they know these are fighters, that there are soldiers in that number. And the number is somewhere, depending on which country's estimate you want to look at, the number is somewhere between 8 and 15,000. About half of all the people that Hamas is claiming are actually as non-combatant or civilians. Yeah, they're actually members of Hamas. They lie because they're terrorists and they have an agenda. And that agenda gets them, by pushing that agenda, they get to get peers, $320 million peers. They're getting hundreds, if not billions of dollars of humanitarian aid they would never get otherwise. They lie because they want something. And they want, ultimately, the biggest thing that they want is to genocide anyone that does not believe what they believe. Anyone who kids himself about that or wants to, don't be so serious. That's a serious issue. And anyone who doesn't want to acknowledge that, you're part of the problem. It's just the way it is, in my opinion.
Okay, well, one thing that Israel's done throughout this whole ordeal, okay, and through this whole thing, is Israel has warned civilians to get out of the areas that they are getting ready to conduct operations in. All the way throughout this, they've done that time and time again.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, to the point that when they're getting ready to go into Rafah, Biden threatened to withhold arms to Israel to go if they went into Rafah.
Yeah.
Because Israel was telegraphing and saying, we are getting ready to go into Rafah. Get out.
They told everyone for a week. They told everyone in the world for a week.
Okay, what else can they do to try to avoid collateral damage? There's not much. Okay, and if you look at it as a ratio or whatever, this occupation or this operation has actually had lower collateral damage than any other war.
One of the lowest recorded. Yes. Officially, one of the lowest record of collateral damage, one of the lowest instances.
But
Obama
yet you hear
was more dangerous.
pundits and everybody else put it out there. It's like Israel's just going there and leveling everything, killing everything in sight, and they're not.
No, if Israel wanted to just flatten everything, the Palestinians wouldn't exist as of 3, 4, 5 decades ago. They could have killed them a long time.
Okay.
And the rest of the world doesn't care.
Right. So
Egypt doesn't
they're
care.
trying to make
Jordan doesn't
Israel
care.
out to be the bad guy here. And I'm sorry, based on what I've seen on both sides of the media and so forth, I cannot see how you can say Israel is the bad guys here.
Because the pro-Hamas Democratic Socialists of America, the progressives out of Harvard and Columbia and Binghamton University and UCLA don't care. They are protecting themselves. They're small. Small groups don't have power, so you have to give them power so they can fight with the big guys. That's the mindset of the progressive in our colleges. They want power. They have a sliver of the Democratic Party, which is a sliver of the total population of America. Americans don't believe in progressivism. They absolutely don't believe in socialism because it doesn't work. It has never worked in the history of mankind. They know that. And they keep saying, oh, well, that's got to be racist because we don't have power. That's why they changed the definition of racism and said it's about power so that they can now try and get more power so that they can be able to control things. That's why they're doing this. It's all about power.
They did. You're exactly right. They did change the definition of racism. Okay. Because they have added the stipulation in order to be racist, you must hold power over someone.
Yeah, it's stupid. That's not the definition of racism. But they make, again, they keep making things up, whatever they need, and they can't get. They'll just make up a definition. They'll just make up a scenario. They don't care because it's about they want to win. And look what they will do to win. They will fund terrorism. They'll break the entire legal system. Look what they're doing to Trump.
Mm-hmm.
They'll destroy museums. They'll threaten people's lives. They don't care because they'll just
burn down cities.
They'll burn down cities. Minneapolis, great example of that. They'll do it because they want
Washington, D.C. is another example.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
DC,
everybody wants to focus on January 6th. What about June and July of 2023, 2022?
No one, the news media doesn't want to talk about that. They don't like to talk about, oh, well, Antifa burned down the church across the street from the White House. Oh, they don't want to talk about
when they are trying to literally, when they are on the White House grounds trying to enter the White House.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about that. They don't like talking about the things that actually show what they are willing to do. They don't want to talk about Minneapolis and the fact that Antifa that they burned down Minneapolis and Austin and Portland and Seattle and Brooklyn. Do you notice? And Boulder, Colorado. Notice there's a lot of ands in there. There's a lot of places and Rochester. There's a lot of these ands. They don't like to mention that because you might not vote Democrat. And you have to. It's really sick and twisted when you think about it.
And this is the other thing. Okay, they claim that Trump and conservatives and right are fascist, but the fascist playbook is being literally played out, play by play, by the Democratic Party.
Well, the easy answer to that. What's fascism? Let me see. You created an autonomous zone at Columbia this weekend, right now. They walked in to Columbia. They created a space that has no laws except the ones they want. The Constitution, they said, the Constitution doesn't exist. None of the laws that you and I have to live with, they will not apply them at Columbia University for their autonomous zone. And they will rule that through their will. They will force the police to be kept out. They will force law enforcement to be kept out. They will force people to obey. Doesn't that sound fascist? Isn't that the definition of fascism? And anyone who's paid attention to this, yes. And the right doesn't do that. What happened at the Brooklyn Museum? The left, who were upset that people in New York actually just listened to Donald Trump. And because they listened, because Black and Hispanic and white and Asian New Yorkers listened to Donald Trump, they went into Brooklyn and they started breaking the museum. Public's going to have to pay for that. Priceless items we may never, ever get back destroyed. Attacking and intimidating human beings. Yeah, that's fascist, those tactics. We saw them in the 1930s in Germany, those exact same tactics. And the left is doing it because the right listened to someone say, I want to be president. That's all he said. I want to be president. I want to have a good economy. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, how terrible. How dare you say that you want America to have a good economy, that you want Americans to live a good life? How dare you say that? Really? Am I wrong, Mike? I mean,
no, you're not. You're not. Okay. And as a lot of you know, I literally try to figure out part of what I do is I try to figure out how we got to the point where we're at now by looking at past events in history. Okay. And I touched on this, I think, is last week a little bit about how prior to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that there were several almost exclusively Black schools that were scoring way higher than the national average in the United States. One was Dunbar Academy in Washington, D.C. Another one was PS School 91. And there's a few schools in New York City that were predominantly Black schools, predominantly very impoverished schools, but they were scoring higher than the national averages on standardized testing. Okay. All of this changed literally after the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Okay. When we left Blacks alone to do what they wanted, to quit classifying them as victims, they were excelling. They were able to make communities like Black Wall Street outside of Tulsa, okay, which was an extremely lucrative area that was an exclusively Black community. But they were very well off. They were doing great. Okay, it was one of the richest economies in the nation. Okay, and that was until, again, a Democratic-backed white group wiped them off the face of the map. But prior to that, they were doing good. Okay, we see this in our history, and we don't focus on what these people were able to accomplish. Instead, everybody wants to focus on how whites treated blacks. Okay, so essentially we are telling, for black history, we are telling the history of whites and how they treated blacks. Okay, when we talk about Native Americans or Indian, okay, we do the same thing. We don't tell about the accomplishments of the natives. Okay, we talk about how whites treated the natives. So again, we are focused on white history and not the history of the Native Americans, or the Native Americans.
Well, it's because the same pro-Hamas leftists, activists believe in pushing a victimhood model. And the more victimhood you have, well, then the more equity you deserve.
But here's a group that we don't do that with: Jews.
Well, they count Jews as white.
Okay, we don't do that with Jewish people.
Yeah, because they count Jewish people as white. And white, of course, are evil. That's what is part of critical race theory. And that's being taught to children across this nation because they've applied it in various books that,
and
white people are evil.
That's with very few exceptions, another group that we don't do that with is Asians.
True. For the most part, true.
Okay. Yeah. Why?
Because they're a small community that usually is pretty successful, mostly because they have a very strong family unit and they work together traditionally to achieve whatever they want. They're very, very focused. As a culture or a group of cultures, they're very focused and they're usually pretty damn successful too.
Exactly. Okay. And they don't play victim.
No time for that. No, their cultures, actually, most of the Southeast Asian cultures that I'm familiar with, which are several, they actually would oppose. They're actually antithetical to the idea of being a victim. That's like literally in several of the Southeast Asian cultures, being a victim is akin to being scum or dirt.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And we have tried to portray blacks as victims, but when we didn't treat them as victims, blacks were excelling. And you can look in our history and see that when they shouldn't have been. Okay. When the KKK was at its height, blacks were excelling.
It's one of the reasons why they came into existence. I mean, to counteract the black Republican members of Congress in the South, which was where the first black members of Congress came from. They were all Southern Republicans. That's when they created that group, because they wanted to counter that movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Southern Democrats did.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And we exclude that from our history.
Well, it's in the history. They don't emphasize
stuff like the Tuskegee Academy.
Well, because victimhood sells.
Right.
That's why.
And that is actually one of the things that Johnson was very good at when he was president, was selling blacks as being victims and convincing them that they were victims.
Well, most Democrats do it. I think Johnson may be good, but Obama was better.
Well, Johnson was the start of it. Okay, yes, Obama did sell that. But Johnson was the beginning of that, and that's what actually led to where we are today with Obama accelerating it some. Okay.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
We're actually getting out of that in the 80s, 90s to a certain extent. And then we started going back because in 2000s we started seeing that start to raise its head again.
2005, 2006, when we started to see that Hillary Clinton and Democrats were looking to try and retain power, take it back from what they had seen with Bush. Then they brought back the emphasis on the race card, something that had been largely absent under Reagan and Bush, the original Bush and Clinton. Even during the Clinton administration, there was very little focus on that. And you can see that even in the entertainment. Look at the TV that was on at that time. Look at the movies that were on. There were multiple TV shows with many black leads or co-leads. There were a lot of movies with a lot of very successful black actors. No one had to mandate that. No one had to force the public to accept that. The public just did. And then, as we saw Hillary Clinton and Obama rise up in power, we saw this resurgence in, and this came from the colleges again, from the leftist activist wing. We saw this resurgence in racism, because racism creates emotion, which shuts down people thinking, and well, that leads to where we are today.
Well, here's something else that kind of started that off again. Okay. And this also helped solidify, and this is what actually helped ramp up the racial inequities talk again, was a piece of legislation that was sponsored by our current president.
Are you talking about the Drug Act?
The Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's what led to mass incarceration of a lot of people of color.
It was the crack bill.
That's
what it's commonly called, the crack bill.
And that, so if you want to look at why we are in the shape we are in, as far as these racial matters and quote unquote systemic racism, there's one of the places that you need to look is the history of our current president.
No, just look anywhere you see the left. You want to talk, you want to see systemic racism, look at the left-leaning institutions. Look at all of their leftist activist organizations. Look at the colleges. That's where you find all the racism. The biggest racists are almost inevitably and consistently leftists. The bigger the leftist activists, the more socialist they lean, the more racist they are. Consistently. Look at the history. Don't have to believe me. Look at the history. Look at the actions. Look at the policies that they promote, and you will see that consistently.
And then another thing that I want to point out along these lines is they are trying to attribute the breakdown of the black family and so forth as an attribute of slavery, as a repercussion of slavery. Why did it take over 100 years after slavery was abolished for that to start happening.
No, everyone
prior to 64, black marriages and black families and black households with a father in the home were in the 80%.
Okay, that's before the war on poverty, which was, and it's well understood and well recognized that the war on poverty destroyed the black family. It had nothing to do with slavery.
Exactly.
Black families were not targeted.
They are trying to, current rhetoric today is a part of the reason why there are so many black families without fathers in the home is attributed to slavery.
That's stupid. And whoever says that has no understanding of history. That's just not accurate at all. It's because of the war on poverty under the Johnson administration, which was targeting, it would give more to black families if the father wasn't there. We've seen this. There were movies about this with James Earl Jones and Sidney Poitier, in particular with James Earl Jones. I'm forgetting the name of the movie. They made this, it was so commonly known that there were Hollywood funded movies about this. How the fathers, black fathers, had to hide from government employees because they were trying to help the family by giving them government aid. And if they ever saw the black man in the house, the father in the house, they would cut the funding. That, I mean, it's that well known that they made movies and autobiographies about that in the 70s.
Like I said, they are trying to attribute that to slavery.
That's just stupid. It's just stupid. But when we talk about the entire race issue, it is stupid because
it is
the left.
Without doubt.
It's because of the leftist ideology that demands victimhood, that demands obedience, that is built upon victimhood, which I can't stand. And that reminds me that there is, speaking about victimhood and how, that's being promoted by the more progressive you are, the more you're going to see that. Jamal Bowman. And mind you, you brought up the subject about race and we got into it, but here we go. This is something I was looking at earlier. This is from 730. Jamal Bowman, the man who got arrested for disrupting Congress. Remember, he's the guy who pulled the fire alarm while Congress was trying to...
An insurrectionist act.
Yeah, and then he lied that he didn't do it until we saw the video camera of him doing it. And then he said, oh, I did it. And by the way, I admitted it on my own, only after he got caught. Well, okay. This is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. He supports Hamas, the terrorist organization that kills American citizens, that tortures American men and women as we speak. He supports all of this and more. He supports BLM. He supports burning down our cities. He supports the riots that we saw in 2020 and 2021. Jamal Bowman is also saying white supremacists are trying to buy the New York 16th district race. In other words, he has a competitor, he has a Republican running against him who has money, who has some amount of funding, almost as much as Jamal Bowman. That's not buying the race. That's being competitive. And he's just not used to it. He goes on to say, they're targeting him. He is being targeted, probably because he's a member of Congress and he's running for re-election. But they're targeting him. Are the first black representative of the New York 16th district, not the first black congressman in New York or New York City or even in the Bronx. No. Going on with racist attacks, saying what you did isn't racist. Saying that you disrupted Congress is a fact. Saying that you support Hamas is a fact. Saying that Hamas is a terrorist organization is a fact. They're scared of what he represents. No one is scared of Jamal Bowman. Nobody is scared of Jamal Bowman. And don't want to see people like us in power. Who is us, Jamal Bowman? See, if you said Americans, well, this is a race in America. If you're saying people from New York State, okay, but you're running against someone who's in New York State. If you're saying it's New York City or even just the Bronx, well, you're running against the candidate that is everything you are. Are you saying it's because your opponent is white? But what does that have to do with anything? See, your opponent isn't talking about Jamal Bowman being black. They're talking about Jamal Bowman being a progressive. They're talking about Jamal Bowman being a socialist because he's part of the Democratic Socialists of America. They're talking about Jamal Bowman supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization. They're talking about Jamal Bowman breaking the law. These are all true statements. None of that has to do with Jamal Bowman being black. Only Jamal Bowman is talking about people's skin color. He's the only one. Because Jamal Bowman is racist. Based on
a liar.
And a liar, yes.
Okay, because
based on his
Charles
own
Rangel also represented the 16th.
Yeah, Charles Rangel. That's that was Charlie Rangel's old district. That's right. One of the
1983 to 1993.
Yeah.
So Jamal Bowman is not the first black representative from the New York 16.
In his generation. See, they'll always come up with extra qualified. Well, I'm in my generation. It's still not true. It's that easy. And Charlie Rangel was a very popular, very powerful, very well-known black Democrat from New York. And he's going to that man's district and saying, I'm the first black. Really?
Yeah.
Do you think we're all stupid and don't remember? Like the history isn't literally, you could look it up in 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing.
And I did.
Yeah. It takes 30 seconds. It's not hard to figure out. I mean, it's just that easy. So wrong. But he's an example of what I am talking about with the leftist extremists, the socialist ideologues that come out of Harvard, that come out of Binghamton University and Columbia and UCLA. These individuals that believe in they need victimhood. If it wasn't for victimhood, which we just saw, I just showed you his Twitter account from today, where he's all about victimhood. I'm a victim. They're running a race against me, not because he's a member of Congress, but because he's black.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with anything?
And the thing is we have literally watched the black culture change from the Equal Rights Act 1964 to what it was prior to that to what it has become today. We have literally seen the black culture change, and that is really what's causing a lot of the issues. It's not racism. It's not systemic racism. It is a change in black culture.
It's politics. It's victimhood. It's people taking advantage because free stuff. There's a lot.
Well, even looking away from politics. Okay, we have
the commoditization of being black
in black culture prior to 1964.
Call it what it is. It's the commoditization of being black. To be black is to be commoditized. That means that you have certain types of sneakers like Nikes and Adidas. You have a certain type of bling that you wear. You have a certain lifestyle that you're expected to lead. That's why people are ghetto fabulous. That is a commoditization of being black. That it goes hand in hand with victimization, which is political. And that's a way of being oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more voluntary than it used to be.
Yeah. And that's why you're hearing people like Candace Owens and others saying that they are leaving the Democratic plantation, because that is what Democrats are doing with this victimization, is they are enslaving you to the government and to the Democratic Party.
They try. But that's why I don't even talk about it. I mean, think about it. And as much as people have been seeing me and the decades of me talking about politics, in the God, how many years we've been doing the Friday live stream, you almost never hear me talk about black politics because I don't care. Because politics isn't or shouldn't be about race.
No, it shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be.
Yeah. It's about being American.
So
Definitely
we're
about
about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Okay, folks, do us a favor. Please like, share this live stream. Even if you're watching this after, post a comment. Okay, help us get eyeballs on this, because this is stuff that people need to know. This is stuff that people need to learn. Okay. We touched on how our legal system's getting perversed. We're talking about how our political system's been perversed, how it's getting weaponized, and so forth. Okay. We are trying to educate people here. That's what we do. But we can only reach so far without your help. And one of the ways that you can help us is by becoming a member of the Liberty First Foundation. You can find us at l1f.us. Another way you can do that is literally just share our live streams. Let people know when we're coming live. Okay. The larger we can grow this audience, the more people our voices can reach. And that's where we're going to actually make a difference. We're not going to make a difference with an individual voice. We make a difference when our voices come together as one. With that, we are here every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to thank everybody who's in the chat. I want to thank all the commenters and so forth, and engaging in the conversation. I know I didn't post a lot up tonight of the comments that were coming in the stream. And for that, I apologize, because there's a lot of comments that did apply. Folks, the only one that can change us is we the people. Okay? And if we the people keep allowing to happen what's happening now, we're going to continue to see it degrade. We'll see you all next week. Thank you, Michael.
No problem.